The man was just complaining about a bug in the game, and suddenly he was teleported into the game world. Facing the sudden appearance of monsters, he couldn't help but wonder, what exactly is going on? Just yesterday, game studio Mobius Corporation released a new game called Pick Me Up. The gameplay involves training heroes to conquer a giant tower, with the goal of raiding all 100 floors. In order to obtain a premium hero summon, the man decided to participate in an event. In the game, heroes' levels range from 1 star to the highest of 7 stars. Despite thousands of attempts, the man could not obtain a hero above 5 stars, which shows how rare the 7-star heroes are. But this game is fundamentally different from others. Once a hero dies, they can never be revived. The man entered the event dungeon, but the next second, the game sent a warning. Everyone in his team of heroes was gripped by fear. What are these guys afraid of? At that moment, the squad he had sent out was wiped out. Immediately after, a dark shadow appeared before him. It was level 999. Is it a bug? It's clearly a system error. The man was utterly shocked. However, the dark shadow gave the man a sinister smile and said, "Found you." Everything went dark for the man. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in an unfamiliar environment, and in his ears, the sound effects of the game starting echoed. "Master, if you wish to save the world, then climb the tower. A myriad of heroes will join you." Soon after, a message came through. Tutorial mission 1. Defeat the goblins that have invaded the village. Goblin? Is this even real? Just then, a goblin suddenly attacked him, and the man defended himself with his sword. At that moment, another message came. Battle will commence automatically. Please watch as the hero's internal AI performs high-level combat. The man uncontrollably swung his sword, instantly slaying the goblin. A moment later, the man was still in disbelief about everything that was happening before his eyes. This familiar scenery. Pick me up, he suddenly realized. At the same time, a message came. Master, before continuing on to the next stage, try pulling for an ally. Before the man could react, a golden light appeared. A super rare hero, Shay, hero level 4 stars appeared. The man joined the battle again. Under Shay's leadership, he once again finished the fight with no real danger. However, what happened next truly made the man feel what it means to have a narrow escape. The last stage of the tutorial, the way to strengthen a hero, synthesis. A fairy kept urging the man to hurry up. Isol, I'm Isol. How do you know my name? What are you? Hansio Jean, the man said. Hansio Jean? There's no way. Not Hanislet. No way. Did you come from Earth? Would I have come from Mars? The fairy was even more confused. Just go in for now. You won't die. You'll get synthesized. However, the fairy appeared very angry, but instead kicked the man into the synthesis room. The man's hands began to glow blue. Damn it, it started. According to the game rules, when a 1-star hero and a 4-star hero are synthesized, it is usually the 1-star hero that becomes fodder. However, when the synthesis was over, the 4-star hero Shay was abandoned by the player. Just now, the man realized he was about to become experience points. Synthesis means 2 heroes merge into one, with one hero sacrificing for the other hero's enhancement. But the problem is, normal players would never sacrifice a 4-star hero to enhance a 1-star hero. Is this how I'm going to die? As the synthesis ended, the man felt a surge of strength throughout his body, while Shay turned into light and slowly disappeared. Why are you disappearing? I wasn't chosen. That is all. I'll leave it to you. And then completely vanished, leaving the man stunned. The scene shifted, and the man passed the tutorial and came to the outside world. He found others who had the same experience as him. So you're telling me all 11 people present don't know why they're here? At that moment, the fairy Isol suddenly appeared in front of them. She declared herself the administrator of this place and warned, "Stay in line if you don't want to get hurt." A swordsman beside her believed that it was she who had transported these people here, so he drew his sword against her. Why do you gotta be like this? The next second, the swordsman was killed on the spot. Anyone that lays a finger on me will end up a corpse. At the same time, the operation to conquer the tower began. The first squad joined the team one after another, and then the fairy opened a rift in time. See that door? Go in if you don't want to end up like the other guy. In front of the 5 people in the team, the man stopped the fairy. I'm sure you also want to climb the tower. Have the master summon a weapon. We're 1 stars without even a basic weapon. You don't want to send in a suicide squad. The fairy pondered for a moment, then agreed to the man's request and uploaded the information to the master. Shortly thereafter, the master provided them with some weapons. After selecting their preferred weapons, the fairy asked them to immediately enter the rift in time. The man chose a very inconspicuous wooden shield, which made a woman very curious. Why do we need weapons? Where are we? And what's with the fairy? You sure do have lots of questions. You just have to go into the battlefield and kill all the enemies. As for the rest, figure it out yourself. At the same time, news came that the first squad had been completely wiped out. A wipeout? Already? Wipeout on the first floor? Everyone was shocked. By then, the second squad was ready to go. Next is our turn. They walked straight to the tower, and the system prompted, "Main dungeon. Your current challenge floor is floor 1. Climb the tower. Save the world." At that moment, the door in front of them emitted a burst of light. Don't space out. It's starting. When they came to their senses, they found themselves on a grassy plain. The system prompted, "Floor 1. Objective. Eliminate all enemies. I said it earlier. You'll die if you don't fight, so get your head on straight." However, the 3 people nearby were so frightened that they started running around, and soon they they were all engulfed in fear. They quickly realized they couldn't escape because a huge barrier was preventing them from moving forward. Can we leave if we defeat these goblins? The man signaled that he would handle the front, while the woman would take care of shooting arrows. As for them, don't pay them any mind. They're useless pieces of shit. At that moment, the goblins launched an attack on them. Although the man had never used a sword and shield before, he remained calm in the face of the enemy's fierce onslaught. He still chose to step forward and block, and I think I ended up being sucked into a shitty-ass RNG game. News came that the fat man had died, which made them run away in terror even more, but the man was relieved that he had survived because he had managed to live through the synthesis, thanks to the master's foolish move. Just then, the scenery to the side distracted the man. The next second, his arm was chopped off by a goblin on the spot. You damned bastard. Right before entering this world, the level 999 bug monster was laughing. I'm sure it was that bastard that dragged me here. A moment later, the man collapsed to the ground. Your arm, I'll be fine when we return. In this game, the chance for masters to intervene in battles is very slim because most of the heroes fight automatically. Despite this, the game is popular worldwide. The fundamental reason is that masters can observe this world like gods, and I was also a user who enjoyed pick-me-up, thoroughly familiar with hero training and some hidden information, as I am the 5th ranked player in the world. The scene shifts, and the man is now intensely training himself. He knows the game rules of this world well. Heroes disappear in 2 ways, either being synthesized or dying in battle, and as a 1-star hero in pick-me-up, he is essentially meaningless, because a 1-star is the most basic hero, with extremely low base and growth stats. If this continues, I will inevitably face being synthesized. For this, I must do everything to become stronger. I want revenge. Although I don't know what will happen in the future, if I don't accept and adapt to all this, I will soon be eliminated. The man began training himself like crazy. At this moment, Jenna approached. You know we can't leave here right now. I thought about it all night yesterday, and no amount of crying and wailing will change anything. You know how to survive. The man was very curious. Is this your first real battle? He glanced at her information. Did your growth stats increase by 4 points yesterday? Even though the growth stats are low, you have a prerequisite skill despite being a 1-star hero. She was not as helpless as the others. She had a clear goal. Just now, the man decided to help Jenna. Alright, I'll help you. Please take care of me. At that moment, a message came. Jenna feels goodwill towards Han. Friendship bonus has been created. Heroes that are friendly with one another receive bonuses when in a party together. Use this well. The scene shifts, and the man is looking for the fairy Isle. What is it now? I'm quite busy. If you have very curious questions, go conquer the giant tower, because the answers are inside. Am I the only one that can see the status screen above your head? I don't know what you're talking about. Isn't it written there? Level 257. I guess you can see it. Is it because your existence is jumbled up? The fairy's reaction made the man even more convinced that he could see the game information, even all of the master's messages. What happens if the master gives up and stops playing? Let's hope that doesn't happen. There was a synthesis accident by the player, turning a 4-star hero into a 1-star hero. The summoning chance for a 4-star is only 1%, yet he carelessly discarded it. The game is linked with the phone, so it can't be restarted. After starting the game, it's been an entire week since they logged on. Could the time here be different from Earth's? At this, Isle showed great impatience. Do not ask me any questions. So the time is different. Thanks for the hint, you 1-star trash. At that moment, the man realized that the fairy could not physically harm him, because she could only punish him if he triggered self-defense or disobeyed the commands given by the master. What were you guys just talking about? We will need to conquer a 100-floor giant tower in the future. Someone called a master can issue commands to us through the fairy, and we need to complete these tasks. Perhaps after reaching the 100th floor, we will be freed. But just the 2 of us? The master can summon people like us, so more people will be transported here in the future, and ultimately, our lives will depend on the master's choices. The scene shifts, and after finishing his training, the man discovered the rules of this world. Necessities would be replenished the next day, and anything desired would immediately appear before him. Moreover, the rules of training also had their own patterns. Now I understand the part that wasn't clear when playing the game. Often heroes of the same level display different combat abilities. What these heroes have in common is their consistent training. Although training doesn't increase level, it does improve skill proficiency. A discerning master categorizes heroes into 3 types. First is mentality. Masters don't care for heroes who panic easily. Second is skills. High-level heroes are summoned with skills already learned, while low-level heroes require the master to discover them. Finally, the physical aspect. This is also why I'm working hard to train my body. The scene shifts, and 3 days of training have passed, and today, the master logged on. Just now, the game transmitted the message that the player had logged on. At the same time, the man looked at the 2 skills he had just acquired and said, "Get ready quickly, the master is here now." A team has 5 slots, so the player needs to summon 3 more heroes. The next second, 3 heroes abruptly appeared before them. There's no time to explain now. Please get ready to fight quickly. At that moment, the fairy Isle abruptly opened the time rift. While there's still time, quickly pick up the weapons. However, the 3 people nearby complained to the fairy about all this. Who are you? Where did you come from? Send us back. Don't worry about about them for now. Right after, the three were chastised by the fairy. Please obey, just like them, have fun. The scene shifts, and they received a task from floor 2, wipe out all enemies. At that moment, the three were terrified by the scene before them, and even Jenna felt a trace of fear. The man decisively woke her up, and instantly, she overcame her fear. None of the newcomers are going to help. As expected, the man muttered. At that moment, a wild wolf suddenly attacked the man. He drew his long sword and impaled it on the spot. It's not dead yet. The man exerted force and killed the wild wolf on the spot. Another wild wolf attacked. The man decisively used his shield to block, then swung his sword, but the wolf easily dodged. Following that, he swung his heavy sword forcefully and killed it on the spot. How are the goblins? The goblins had been turned into a pincushion. Enough, they're already dead. Afterward, they were transported back to the starting point. Congratulations on breaking through the second floor of the giant tower, the system's voice announced. Immediately after, the ground shook violently, and they were transported to the third floor. Does the master want to tackle the third floor right now? But what should be done in this situation? With the notification of the master logging off, the man let go of his worries. Is it 1 floor per day? If the time here is 3 times different from Earth's, the master will log in again in 3 days. The scene shifts, and the man looked at his status window, noticing a decrease of 1 point in intelligence but an increase of 2 points in strength. Although the overall increase was still 4 points, the efficiency of leveling up had improved. This must be evidence that my physique is getting stronger. Meanwhile, the 3 people nearby were continuously complaining about everything, and the man finally understood why 1-star heroes had no presence. The 2-star hero who had claimed to be a soldier said that more stars indicate stronger combat instincts. If a newly summoned 1-star hero is thrown into battle, they will fall into fear. However, heroes of 3 stars and above can start fighting immediately without any fear. Were they summoned knowing this? Or is there another reason? At that moment, Jenna signaled for the man to come and help. Those useless fellows, why should I do this? They'll disappear soon anyway. This provoked dissatisfaction from one of the men. Therefore, the man punched him to the ground. You bastards were hopping around in the back while we were losing blood out there. The scene shifts again, and the two are still training. During this time, their strength greatly increased. Just then, an arrow struck the man directly, but he calmly pulled it out. The wound healed instantly, and the man thus acquired the pain resistance skill. Immediately after, the man resumed his training. I won't give up just like that, as this was proof of still being alive. At that moment, a message came through. Skill awakening, beginner swordsmanship, and beginner shield proficiency have synthesized into a new skill. Han has obtained beginner sword and shield proficiency. 3 days later, the master had logged on. Come to the square when the master arrives. Because the master had logged on, the fairy demanded that everyone immediately rush to the square. Jenna was already looking ready to fight. In contrast, the 3 nearby were always complaining about everything here, and even Isol could no longer tolerate it and scolded them on the spot. They entered the 3rd floor instance, and the task was to eliminate all monsters. We just need to do it like we did in training. Following that, the man took the lead in the attack. Moments later, the 2 had cleared all the monsters on the 3rd floor, while the 3 behind them were of no help in the battle. It doesn't matter. I don't want to split experience points with guys like them. If they don't participate in battle, they won't get experience points. At that moment, he observed the master's next move. He wants to challenge floor 1 again? It seems the player wants us to go in circles. The next second, they were teleported back to floor 1. Although there were many monsters, they quickly conquered the area. The master started the challenge over again. It seems if the conquest is too easy, the master won't let us rest easily, the man sighed. However, after countless repeated conquests, the 2 finally collapsed to the ground. The master won't send us again. A moment later, I'm really going crazy. How long do we have to take care of those people? Don't worry, today is the last day. Suddenly, a synthesis room stood imposingly before everyone, and then the door slowly opened. Those guys, the player gave them so many chances, yet they didn't appreciate them. No one can save them. Being a 1-star hero with no meaningful existence, while others chose to fight for survival, they would only hide behind, shivering, not realizing that all this was seen by the master, and waiting for them would be the trial known as synthesis. Because the master, from a godlike perspective, could tell at a glance who was slacking and who was the most diligent. At that moment, the fairy signaled for Jenna and Yelson to enter the synthesis room, while the man assured her that she would be fine. What would happen if I enter the synthesis room? They will judge your actions there. How else do you want me to help you? Even if you had just pretended to fight, the outcome would have been different. I'm tired of taking care of you. Just go in already. The master decisively pressed the synthesis button, accompanied by the uncle turning into a blue light. The synthesis was complete. Jenna received an upgrade and acquired the Hawkeye skill. Why did the uncle disappear? Those who are useless will die as sacrifices. It's my turn next. Which of you will it be this time? Next, Han and Toby still could not accept what was happening before him. I'm going back. Just think of it that way. Accompanied by a scream, the synthesis ended. Han was upgraded and gained the composure skill. The man calmly walked outside. You were lucky. If the master no longer needs us, will we disappear from that room? Why are you sad? You were the one who didn't wish to be left behind. Jenna still could not accept everything happening before her. The higher we climb, the stronger the monsters we encounter will be, and the stronger the summoned ones will be. We will either be killed by enemies or die as sacrifices. If you want to survive, you must stand with the right team. The scene changed, and Jenna bowed deeply to the man. I want to try to survive, so please take care of me in the future. As long as you keep training, you won't die so easily. At that moment, another man expressed his desire to join their team. I've caused a lot of trouble for everyone before and only shivered behind during battles, but now I want to make a change. However, the man still did not trust him. He threw a spear to the man. If you want to survive, you need to be prepared to fight. Although I'm no expert, I've heard that this spear is the easiest to master. Have you heard of the close mid-far rule? Use swords at close range, spears at mid-range, and bows at long range. What are you waiting for? Get ready to fight. However, the man stood there, bewildered. The man suddenly attacked Aaron. Just watch and learn for yourself. At least you should be thankful there are opponents here, because I used to train with scarecrows. At that moment, Aaron closed his eyes in fear. Are you closing your eyes during a fight? The man pushed Aaron forcefully. If I were a monster, you would have been dead just now. It's his first day. Isn't this a bit too much? I don't want to be dragging an anchor around. If he can't keep up, he should give up. Do you have a family? I have a sister waiting for me. What if you just die here? You know, being killed by monsters is very painful than being synthesized. Can you really keep going? Aaron's eyes instantly became much more determined. The scene shifts, and the master builds an armory. Now we can move freely, and the armory is open too. At that moment, the man calls Isol over. Let's talk about something else. You sent the strategy to the master. Can you access the internet? Of course, surfing the web is my hobby. Your strategy came from a forum. Summoning 10 items of equipment, then sending a level 1 hero into the training grounds, followed by opening the armory. Isol looked curious. How do you know that? It's a popular article on the Pick Me Up official website. It was uploaded by Loki. Do you know Loki? Of course, because I am a master of this game. Then you're just an ordinary master in the game. Only Loki is the god of Pick Me Up. If he had 7-star heroes, he would already be the #1 in the world. So why do you like Loki? Because he is someone who can turn the impossible into possible. The game strategy guide sent to the master by the fairy Isol was actually an article uploaded to the forum by Loki himself, and she, a devoted fan of Loki, had no idea that the man before her was the legendary master Loki. Is that so? I'm sorry to say, but I am Loki. Just now, faced with the fairy who liked Loki so much, the man on the spot claimed he was Loki, but Isol thought he was lying. Following that, the man recited his own account information. For certain reasons, only the person playing the game and relevant personnel know the account information. If you don't believe me, you can check for yourself. At this moment, Isol was quickly verifying the information. Are you really Loki? Could you give me your autograph? I could become a member of the Ragna Loki Club. What is that? It's a club founded by Loki fans. Only those with an autograph from Loki himself can become members. The man was unaware of this. Have I been saying cheesy things to Loki all this time? I'm just a 1-star hero right now. I don't care about those things. What would happen to Niflheim without you? I'm not sure. Niflheim is the name of my account's waiting room. The standby room alone has 13 floors, accommodating about 20,000 people. Although most of the facilities are best of the best for infrastructure for levels 18 to 22, it is the ultimate form of the building. But now that you've become a hero, what about those 20,000 troops? If you're unhappy, why don't you send me back? I don't have any way to do that. I know, you're just a middle manager here. Anyway, the masters in this waiting room are earthlings. The summoned heroes are all humans. Although they are from different worlds, they are all humans. The masters don't know that we are all humans. They just simply enjoy the game. The game world turns out to be a real world. Whether heroes or masters, they are humans living in different worlds. While masters enjoy the fun, they also bring fatal impacts to those heroes. However, if I climb the 100-story tower, can I return to Earth? Isol indicated that she did not know. Do you know who brought me here? Isol couldn't answer and could only apologize. I'm sorry I couldn't help you. It's okay. As long as I climb the tower, I will know everything. So, next question. To what extent can you access the master's permissions? Currently, giving advice, opening and closing of facilities, and provide heroes with freedom of movement. Are other masters' waiting rooms the same as this one? Basically quite similar. So, there are over 100 million such worlds? I didn't realize the worlds in the game were actually real. Then the decisions I made inadvertently could potentially have devastating impacts on the heroes. The scene shifts, and the man notices that Jenna is truly a genius. Her growth and strength is almost unimaginable. Although she had never used a short sword before, she quickly mastered the essentials. In contrast, Aaron was making no progress, and if things continued this way, he would surely die. At that moment, the man motioned for Jenna to follow him, while the fairy argued with her over who was subordinate #1. The man decisively stopped all this. Moments later, they arrived in front of the warehouse. Isol, you said you have access rights. Please help me open the warehouse. The man took the materials he needed. Next, we are going to the forge. What are you going to do? Of course, make a new weapon. Although he was just a 1-star hero, the man had half the game privileges of a master. He could freely take materials and even create a weapon for himself. Just now, the man decided to create a brand new weapon. During his conversation with Isol, the man realized he was half player, half hero. So, is it possible that he could use areas only accessible to masters? Isol curiously asked the man if he wanted to make the Levitine or Bryanak. Just then, a message came in, insufficient Insufficient facilities. Penalties will be applied. An artisan is not present. Penalties will be applied. There are no blueprints. Penalties will be applied. Probability of success is atrocious. Will you synthesize? The system prompted. The man decisively chose to make it. Following that, another message arrived. Choose a puzzle difficulty. The greater the difficulty, the greater the reward. So, the man chose the ultra hell difficulty. That's triple penalty. Are you sure? This is a minigame designed for masters. Although most masters don't play it, the rewards are quite good. The minigame started. The time limit was 3 minutes. The man muttered to himself, just need to piece them together. Let's start then. The man quickly assembled the pieces. Could this be the legendary hand of God? Accompanied by a message. Han has made a well-forged longsword, grade C. Suddenly, a longsword appeared before the man. A fine longsword, grade C, sturdy, lightweight, sharp. Although the materials were rough, the technique compensated for that. The man also made a bow, a spear, and a shield of the same grade. Are they all grade C because of the materials? But aren't you going to make more? That might be discovered by masters. The scene shifted, and the heroes began to conquer floor 4. Faced with hordes of monsters, the man ordered Eren to protect Jenna. That moment, the monsters launched an attack. Out of fear, swung his weapon wildly, making the situation very critical. Damn, that guy is too scared. But the next second, Jenna snapped Eren out of it. Calm down. Do you want to die here? The three of them started to cooperate. With their teamwork, the monsters were quickly eradicated. A moment later, Eren felt very sorry about his performance. I wasn't very active just now. What kind of judgment will I face? At that time, the player added Eren to the favorites list. It seems the master really likes you. You've dodged a bullet. Eren felt much relieved after the ordeal. It looks like both of your subordinates have grown successfully. My subordinates? Strictly speaking, my number 1 subordinate should be Cirrus from Niflheim. In a team of 5, they are max level 6-star heroes, equipped with 5 divine artifacts and various ultimate skills. If I climb the high tower, I should encounter them because this is an idle game, so Cirrus in Niflheim should handle things on his own. Even if there are emergencies, Urnit is also there. Meanwhile, from Niflheim Urnit, I really have to go. You should know the situation is very urgent now, and I'm counting on you. Niflheim is in your hands then. I will definitely find the masters. The man's trail. The scene shifts, and all the buildings in the master's restroom got upgraded. Jenna was shocked by everything before her. What in the world is going on? It seems the master has started spending. The game is getting more interesting, isn't it? Seeing the various reactions of the heroes and the real battles makes the game feel very real to the masters. In any case, the higher we climb, the better the waiting room becomes. However, judging by the master's online times, he's likely a working professional. The master, having just upgraded the waiting room, decided to start a 10 summon. At that moment, a message came through. The master has started a 10 summoning. Following that, a light appeared in front of the man. Summoning can be done in 2 ways. One is a normal summon using gold. The other is an advanced summon using gems. Gems need to be acquired through spending, and the quality of the summon heroes will be better. At that moment, a group of heroes slowly walked out from the door. The man calmly drew his sword. Keep quiet. I don't want to explain too much right now. I will only speak to those who survive the battle. Immediately after, Isel issued commands. Carpenter, go that way. Next is the blacksmith, followed by the chef. Jenna was somewhat puzzled. What is she doing? She's just assigning roles, because there are many more facilities here. If people who died before are summoned again, then they can do things other than fighting. The master began organizing a second team, and the man quickly understood the master's intention. He wanted to use the dungeon to filter and retain useful heroes. Soon, only 2 people were left in the second team, and then it was the next team's turn. But they were very afraid. Eren volunteered, expressing his willingness to go with them, and the master agreed to his request. Helping others is good, but it's important to keep the useful ones. I understand. At that moment, Jenna was complaining. We eat potatoes every day here because of this so-called master. The master is always watching you. But don't worry, he can't hear everything. He only sees filtered information. A moment later, Eren led the team back to town, but he had only killed a goblin. Alright, so you understood me. Let's go back to the residence. The scene changes. They arrived at the dining hall, and still, only potatoes awaited them. But wasn't that guy volunteering to be the chef? The man checked the chef's information and found. Turns out he's someone who doesn't even have cooking skills. As the man has half of the master's game privileges, he can not only craft weapons on his own, but also appoint others to positions. At that moment, the man decided to appoint Chloe as the chef. Soon after, she prepared a lavish meal. During dinner, the man disclosed everything about this place to them and appointed Enoch and Chloe as carpenter and chef, respectively. From now on, you need to help us out properly. Although non-combatants have a high survival rate, we can't be complacent because team slots are limited. If members with better skills are summoned, you'll ultimately still need to fight. The scene changes, and the man's monotonous daily life began to change. 3 boys wanted to join the training. Their names were Zid, Hansen, and Daika. The man, of course, put them through rigorous training. Meanwhile, Jenna's beginner archery had reached level 5, and even her beginner swordsmanship had reached level 2. Eren's spearmanship had also reached level 2, but he had not made any new progress. Despite training from dawn till dusk, the results were not noticeable. The 3 newcomers each gained a level 1 skill in swordsmanship. A few days later, the master performed another 10 summon. There are more and more people. There might be even more in the future. However, why doesn't the master move to the 5th floor? It seems like we have been on the 4th floor for quite some time, because the difficulty on the 5th floor is different and the master hasn't even finalized the team. Besides, every 5 floors, the difficulty spikes significantly, akin to facing a boss. Even I am not sure if I can survive there. As for how challenging the future will be, we can only wait and see. The man didn't dare tell Jenna the specifics about the 5th floor. Meanwhile, they returned to the 4th floor to start training in team cooperation. Each person had their own way of fighting. Now it was more important to enhance the team's strength than individual capabilities. Although the man had the capability to conquer the 4th floor alone, he felt helpless about the upcoming tasks on the 5th floor. The man quietly watched everything from the side, because if he intervened, they wouldn't be able to conduct real training. Moments later, through their cooperative efforts, they quickly conquered the 4th floor. Although the man did not know what tasks lay on the 5th floor, he was certain it was not something he could accomplish alone. The scene shifts, and the player's login frequency noticeably increased. In the second summon, the equipment crafting station also began operating. The equipment they produced greatly improved the hero's survival rates, and also provided the main team with more advanced gear. During this period, the 3 poorly performing individuals were also synthesized. Today we will go to the 5th floor. This floor will be different. Everyone must be vigilant, but don't be too nervous. Accompanied by a flash of blue light, they were teleported to the 5th floor. However, the scene in front of them was puzzling. Why are there no monsters here? Don't be careless. Let's first observe the situation in the city center. The city is so empty. There's not even a shadow of a person. Could it be that this isn't a task to eliminate monsters? The man signaled Jenna to climb up the bell tower. After she climbed up, she stood frozen. What do you see? This can't be. There are many goblins outside the city, and they are coming towards the city. How many goblins are there? There are thousands of them. At that moment, the mission information came through. Floor 5. Quest type: survive. Survive the onslaught of enemies. Maybe something went wrong? Don't be afraid. This mission is not about killing monsters, but surviving. We just need to hold out here for a set amount of time. They initially wanted to take refuge inside a building, but the system notification forbade entry. How long do we need to hold out? About 10 minutes. However, the actual time was 30 minutes. Encountering a survival mission on the lower floors is very unfortunate, as the probability of the hero's survival is only 9%. Such floors are also known as hero grinder. At that point, they decided to defend themselves in a narrow alley. The narrow passage effectively prevented the goblins from flooding in. Subsequently, the man assigned tasks to everyone. I'll take care of the left side. Aaron will handle the right. The back will be covered by Zid and Hansen. Cherish the arrows. Do not shoot without my command. Start setting up barricades now. If they get through at even one point, we'll all die. The man instructed. 30 minutes. Perhaps the instance's time aligns with Earth time, not the waiting room. The timer will start once we engage the goblins. At the same time, a goblin caught the scent of humans and immediately charged towards the man. Damn, the barricades aren't finished yet. Just then, a goblin suddenly attacked the man, but was instantly slain by him. Following that, countless goblins rushed in. When a 1-star hero faces thousands of goblins, the mission time is supposed to be 30 minutes, but the man told his teammates it was 10 minutes because he knew that revealing the true duration would cause them to panic from excessive fear. Since it's like this, make a wall with their corpses. The man continued to slay the goblins in front of him. If you get tired, let me know. We can't afford any mistakes in this situation. As the goblins frenziedly charged at them, do we really only need to hold out for 10 minutes? When have I ever lied to you? Meanwhile, there were only 26 minutes left. Looking at the countless goblins in front of him, the man resolved, we absolutely cannot die in a place like this. At that moment, a goblin charged straight at the man, only to be pierced through by his sword. The man signaled to Zid and Hansen to switch. I'm starting to run low on stamina. Not only were their levels low, but their skills were poor too, resulting in a lot of wasted energy in battle. As long as we ensure that one goblin is killed with each sword strike, we can achieve the greatest efficiency with the least amount of effort. These goblins should all be from the first floor's creatures, but their numbers were too great, and they showed no fear in the face of death. The man signaled for a switch. Jenna, go help Zid, and recover all the arrows that have been shot. Jenna suddenly fired an arrow, killing the goblin on the spot. Didn't you say we just need to hold out for 10 minutes? It's only been 5 minutes. At that moment, another goblin charged at Jenna, but she kicked it away. Meanwhile, Zid's arm was severed, and he started bleeding profusely. Don't worry about him for now. Switch out to stop the goblins. As long as we make it back alive, he'll be fine. However, Zid was overtaken by fear. These goblins just don't stop. Zid, snap out of it. Do you want us all to die here? Remember, if you don't switch out, Hansen will die here. At that time, the man was fiercely slaughtering goblins, but the goblins on the side was mocking them. Soon after, Hansen reported that his weapon was damaged. Thus, Zid re-entered the battle with his injured body. This was to be expected. Though it's an F-grade iron sword, it's still just a regular iron sword. Since the sword isn't working, use the shield. Switch with Aaron. I can still fight. When it's time to rest, rest. There are 3 minutes left. 30 minutes feels so long. The team began to rotate shifts. Use your bow to help Hansen. However, Jenna Jenna found that her bow and arrows were already worn out. Use the remaining arrows to stop them. We'll all die here if that part is breached anyway. Jenna fired several arrows in quick succession, hitting the goblins in front of her, but they did no damage. The next second, a goblin burst through Zid, who then fell to the ground. Zid has fallen into a morbid state. His life is in danger. The man single-handedly slaughtered thousands of goblins. Before this, he was just a man on the brink of death. Just now, Zid, severely injured, fell into a dying state. At the same time, the man desperately fought the goblins before him, while Jenna was unsure how to react to the situation. Hansen, nearby, apparently hadn't realized yet that Zid was severely injured. At that moment, facing hordes of goblins, the man alone held them off. Hansen, I'll handle this area. You go to the passage on the left. Just then, news of Zid's death came from the front. Zid is dead. Leave him and help on this side. At that time, the man was using his shield to fend off the goblins' attacks, and Jenna's skills awoke at that moment. How much time is left? Stop asking about the time. Just kill the goblins. Under extreme conditions, the hero's souls awakened, enhancing all of the man's skills. However, the awakening seemed to have little utility in this situation. The next second, Hansen sustained severe injuries and fell into a bleeding state. Watching the swarms of goblins, Hansen could only tremble in fear on the spot, ultimately perishing amidst the monster wave. At the same time, the man fled with Jenna and Aaron. They reached an alley. Are we going to die here? Don't talk such ill-omened words. Climb over that wall behind us. By then, the goblins had caught up with them, and the man had to fight fiercely to hold them off. At this moment, Jenna announced that she had climbed the wall. Hurry up and move. With that, the man made a powerful leap to the top of the wall. Come up quickly. However, just then, Aaron was grabbed by a goblin. Without hesitation, the man jumped down again and decisively cut off Aaron's lower leg. Pull him up quickly. At the same time, Aaron fell into a dying state, while the goblins beside him began to slowly stack up, trying to climb over the wall. Such clever goblins. The man was marveled. What the hell do you mean clever? Use Aaron's spear. Stab anything that comes close. How much time is left? We can't hold on much longer. 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds left. Hold on. Just then, a goblin grabbed the railing with both hands. As the man prepared to swing his sword to cut it down, he was stabbed in the abdomen by the goblin. You bastard. As the goblin pulled out the dagger, the man screamed even louder in pain. At the same time, Jenna also entered a bleeding state like the man. Am I really going to end here? Just at the 5th floor, merely 5 floors, the man felt indignant in his heart. At that moment, a flash of red light passed through the man's eyes. The next second, as if possessed by a war god, he roared, "You bastards. This isn't over. We're only the 5th floor now. How could I possibly die here?" The goblins launched another fierce attack, but in a flash, the man slaughtered all the goblins in front of him on the spot. Bring it on, you shits. Skill awakened. On Berserk skill has been learned. Just now, the man acquired a new skill, Berserk. Though he was struggling to breathe and his muscles ached uncontrollably, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart and shouted, "Come at me, all of you, damn goblins." Subsequently, the man embarked on a frenzied slaughter, with each strike instantly killing the goblins before him. Even if his weapon broke, he would not stop. As the battle was about to climax, the instant's countdown ended. Instantly, everything froze. With the message of the instant's completion, they received the instant's rewards, and were then transported outside of the instance. Floor 5 cleared. Daily dungeon opened. Gather materials, and try to strengthen heroes in the waiting room. At that time, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Did we actually survive? The man gave an affirmative reply. Is it going to be missions like this from the 5th floor onward? This was just a special mission. If even one person fails to perform their role, we would all be wiped out. If we had more time to train Hansen and Zid, we wouldn't have been so desperate. Survival missions aren't as hard. We were just unlucky that it happened when we were in our weakest state. The scene shifts, and they return to the town. Good work, boss. Big sis Chloe prepared some delicious food. Are Zid and Hansen in there? They died. Hearing this, Daika was stunned and stood motionless. They silently walked towards the town center. Moments later, the man lay down on a bed. I don't want to be sad because someone died, because death is inevitable on the front lines. However, I did gain the Berserk skill, but composure and Berserk skills shouldn't coexist. That must be a bug. Maybe it's related to how I'm both a master and a hero. Never mind. I won't think about that now. Better to rest well because there's a lot to do tomorrow. The scene changes to the training ground. At this time, Jenna was training hard. Why are you working harder than before? Because I don't want to die. In yesterday's battle, Jenna gained a skill. She has talent, and she works hard. By comparison, Aaron endured so much pain yet gained no skills. Meanwhile, the man's growth rate was fixed at 5, which is the growth rate of a 3-star hero. At this point, the man's level had reached 9, nearly at the maximum level 10 of a 1-star hero. He should now be aiming for a promotion to 2 stars. But why didn't Aaron come to train today? Leave him be. He's probably sulking in his room. He was close with the trio. Daika too. Usually, they would have arrived by this time because they take training very seriously. Unlike those guys who only pretend to train when the master is online, Hansen and Zid were both promising, and it should have been those guys who died instead. Just then, Aaron hurried to the training ground. What's with that look on your face? If I had been stronger, they wouldn't have died. Remember, they died because of their own weaknesses. That's all. Unnoticed, the man had been living in this world for over a month. Through his observations during this time, he concluded that the time difference between the waiting room and Earth is about threefold. The master logs in 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. Another point is that the time in the floor stage is consistent with Earth time. The scene shifts, and the master has formed a new team. Just now, they were about to enter the daily dungeon, Kendut Forest, with 11 hours remaining. Opened as expected. Do we need to fight? Don't worry, you guys won't have to fight. They were transported inside the daily dungeon. Jenna looked around vigilantly. Will there be special missions like on floor 5? This is called a daily dungeon. It's a place to collect materials. At that moment, a teleportation portal appeared beside them. Just throw the collected items into that portal, and they will appear in the storehouse. Do we really not need to fight? You're different. Come hunting with me. Jenna followed the man's steps. The scene shifts, and a deer appears in front of them. Then an arrow flies, striking and killing it on the spot. Do you know how to butcher a deer? After draining the blood like this, you peel off its leather and remove its organs. She butchered the deer right there. Remember to put the materials into that portal. I'm going hunting now. Moments later, the man arrived at a river with only 30 minutes left. Will I be automatically transported out when the time ends? At the same time, 3 deer appeared before the man, and the most magnificent one was the legendary queen of the forest. She is a rare monster that only appears in the forest's days of the forest dungeon, and the lower grade attribute stones she possesses can be used as materials for the man's upgrade. The man hesitated not at all to slay the 2 ordinary deer in front of him, and the forest queen was clearly very angry. Your mates have been killed by me. It must feel bad. Come at me. The scene shifts, and the man returns to the original spot carrying the defeated forest queen. Help me with this. How many did you catch? I caught 2 deer and 1 wild boar. At that moment, Jenna successfully collected the blood of the forest queen, but she was surprised to find this doe actually has a horn. Can you tell the gender just by looking at the head? Of course, I've spent years in the forest. Just then, Jenna awakened the hunter of the forest skill. Another skill awakened. With this, leveling up should be much easier. Lower wind attribute stone, grade D, used for crafting various items and advancing heroes. The scene shifts, and the daily dungeon varies by the dispatched day of the week, with the location changing accordingly. Today's location is the Sinroll Plateau. To acquire other attribute stones, the man and Jenna sneak into the dungeon. The man discovers Plant of Life, a plant crucial for making healing potions. I plan to collect all of these in the future. Moments later, they encounter a Highland wolf and swiftly kill it. Afterward, Jenna butchers it, and the man obtains the materials he wanted. This place is truly peaceful. It would be great if it could always be like this. I wish the master would never logged in. I wonder if the kids in Niflheim feel the same. Do you hate fighting? You don't have to fight on the front lines. At least not now. You shouldn't have to worry about being synthesized. So, you want to find a good position for me? If the situation were better than now, it wouldn't be impossible. The man looked at Jenna with a smile, seemingly having made a decision in his heart. The scene shifts. They were teleported to the 6th level. Mission: investigate the unknown location. Meanwhile, Daika also joined the team. It seems that today is not a routine dungeon, but a rare mission. At this moment, the man gestured for everyone to bow their heads, but they ended up lying flat on the ground. I just asked you to bow your heads, not to lie down. There's nothing here. Relax a bit. As long as we meet the requirements, we can safely pass. They spotted 3 level 8 goblins nearby. Can we kill them? He has a horn, which means there are more of them nearby. What do you see? There's a goblin tribe nearby, with over 100 goblins. Is this some kind of trap mode? The man signaled Jenna to kill the goblin on the far right, another to be killed by Aaron, and the one with the horn was his responsibility. And you just stay put. Come help us if something happens. At that moment, Jenna shot an arrow and killed a goblin on the spot. Meanwhile, Aaron instantly impaled a goblin with his spear, while another goblin tried to summon its companions but was swiftly decapitated by the man with a sword. Is that the end? Not yet. I'll go check it out. Since there's an exploration involved, it can't be just a single mission. There should be hints for the next dungeon. A moment later, the man arrived at a tribal area. Is this the habitat of the goblins? At that moment, it seemed the goblins sensed something unusual, but when one turned to look, the man had already been teleported back outside the dungeon. Where did you just run off to? I was just looking around. Main dungeon hints are abundant, and such explorations are called streams. Whether or not one can analyze a stream depends on the master's abilities. I'm not sure if what I saw was conveyed to the masters, though the stream appeared sooner than I expected. There's big trouble in town. Some strange people have arrived. Strange people come all the time though. What's there to make a fuss about? These people seem unusual. They all carry weapons. What's meant to come will come. They are the summoned high-level heroes. The pulverizing wolves mercenaries have appeared. You could feel a deep connection emanating from them. When masters perform a summoning, there is a very low chance they will summon heroes who are soulmates. When these heroes are in the same team, they can exhibit combat abilities beyond their own. Did the player make a purchase? Isol confirmed this. Subsequently, the man disbanded the team. Even with special newcomers, nothing here will change. A moment later, Jenna was talking to a woman. Hello, my name is Jenna. May I ask what your name is? My name is Adis Callan. Jenna introduced her to the man, and the man was looking at her status information. True to a 3-star hero, strength and stamina are low, but agility is high. This is typical of the thief class. class, primarily using daggers. At that moment, the man expressed his desire to have a serious talk with Adis. The scene shifts. Do you know this place? There are a thing I know and I don't know. Do you remember how you came here? I only remember that I was summoned here to fight. Do you know about synthesis? Synthesis involves using others as sacrifices to strengthen oneself. There's indeed a gap. The difference in summoning levels also determines how much information is known. She is also at a high level among the 3-star supports. Although the previous 2-star hero was also a support, she is much stronger than him. Just now, Isol requested the Mongolian Wolf Soldier Corps to come and assemble. The scene shifts. The player has created a team called Pulverizing Wolves and set Avant as the leader. The master wants to see their strength. What do you think of them? Adis looks fine, not sure about the others. Nearby, humans facing the upcoming synthesis trial plead with the man to save them. However, the man refuses. What were you doing during training? Now you seek help? Is your way of surviving to ingratiate yourselves with the powerful? Don't mention Aaron. Even Dika's level is beyond you right now. You're just pretending to work hard every day. Those who pretend to work hard just to avoid the synthesis trial just disappear from my sight. After that, they left the place. Don't feel sorry for them. Remember, when you were bleeding in the dungeon, they were enjoying their lives. Moments later, the Pulverizing Wolves ended the battle and returned to the town. Who are you? Are you referring to me? You don't need to know. Why are you so arrogant when you speak? It was you who were impolite first. Meanwhile, the captain revealed his identity. I am Avant de Jax, the leader of the Pulverizing Wolves mercenary. I am Han Islet. You have a weapon. Are you a mercenary too? I'm just a farmer. A farmer? Really? At that moment, the master started a 10-summon session, followed by synthesis. Isol ordered 3 people to go to the synthesis chamber, while the blonde man from the Pulverizing Wolves grabbed Diamond, one of the newly summoned. Is the master starting synthesis already? But they have just arrived here. Subsequently, the blonde man grabbed 2 people and rushed to the synthesis chamber. At least they should be given a chance. The master made a huge mistake. Although 1-star heroes are indeed useless, there are many talents worth cultivating. Sending them to the synthesis chamber without verification is a big mistake. Meanwhile, the members of the Pulverizing Wolves were preventing them from escaping, while the man nearby signaled Isol to give some hints to the master. If the master doesn't try using 1-star heroes, you can't judge their value. It's recommended to understand them before synthesizing. What right do you have to interfere? I just gave a little hint. What's wrong with that? At that moment, Jaken suddenly attacked, but was stopped by an arrow shot on the spot. This time I deliberately missed. Are you going to oppose our team? Nearby, Adis tried to persuade the captain, but was stopped by him on the spot. Do you know who we are? I do. Aren't you just a bunch of trash? When a 1-star hero faces a 3-star hero, what kind of sparks will fly? Just now, the man called them all trash, which met with everyone's dissatisfaction. Han and the Pulverizing Wolves team thus became adversaries. Pay attention to the relationships between heroes. Fighting between heroes is prohibited. It's not explicitly forbidden to fight. Indeed, it is not. Honestly, you aren't really a mercenaries. What are you talking about? We are genuine mercenaries. Stop fooling people. You are clearly a band of thieves. You're becoming too offensive. Guys like this only get in our way. There are times when badly behaved heroes are summoned. They would be the chief troublemakers in the lounge. We should get rid of them. That's true, but still, let's have a duel. At that moment, Han sent a duel request to Avant. Indeed, they are 3-star heroes that can only be obtained through spending. In the eyes of the man, however, they are like ants, even openly challenging them to a duel. Dueling is one way to resolve conflicts between heroes. Special conditions can also be set if both sides agree to them. You really are crazy. Are you scared? I know your type well. You asked me about the town's information because you want to know if there are any formidable people there. Your actions just now confirmed my conclusion. In the end, you're just bullies who are afraid of the strong. Jenna didn't understand what the man was talking about. It's simple. If I win, he becomes material for my synthesis. Conversely, I'll become his synthesis material. This is really interesting. Subsequently, Avant accepted the duel. The conditions set by the 2 heroes for the duel involve synthesis. Does the player agree? Immediately after, the master gave a negative response. It seems the master is a coward. Take them back to the dorm first. But are you sure you'll be okay alone? Do you think I'll lose? That's unlikely. Avant sent another duel request, and this time the master agreed. As long as one side surrenders, it signifies the outcome has been decided. Isol, keep an eye on everyone else. Don't let anyone interfere. At that moment, Avant launched a fierce attack. Purely in terms of abilities, he indeed is a noteworthy talent, rated level 2, with strength nearing 20, and his swordsmanship has entered the 3rd stage. You picked the wrong opponent. Avant swung his sword vigorously, but it was easily dodged. Then, the man grabbed his arm, pinned him to the ground, and plunged a long sword into his shoulder. It will hurt more if you move. Tell me you surrender. Louder. I can't hear you. Stop it. Let him go. We've lost. What are you talking about? You think I'll stop just because you say so? Moreover, this is a duel agreed upon by both parties. Why are you meddling? The decision to surrender is up to the person involved. Just as Avant was about to admit defeat, the man stopped him. As long as he doesn't say he surrenders, this won't end. This guy is my prey. Adis, do you really want to stick with someone like him, or would you choose to come over to my side? They are all useless. Come to me. I just happen to need someone. After a moment of contemplation, Adis finally chose to leave the team. There Thereby, the pulverizing wolf mercenaries was disbanded. Meanwhile, the 3 onlookers were already seething with anger, and as they watched their leader concede defeat, they decisively attacked the man, but were stopped by Isol. "If you interfere with us, I will kill you." "Got you. The rules have been triggered. Farewell." Isol's gaze turned sharp in an instant, and the next second, they literally exploded. Just now, because they attacked Isol and triggered the rules, the pulverizing wolves died on the spot. Subsequently, the captain immediately declared surrender, and the man then deactivated his berserk state. At this moment, he only felt a splitting headache. Could this be the aftermath of using the berserk state? Ultimately, Han won the duel against Avant. Avant was about to be synthesized. Meanwhile, the master was frantically tapping the screen. What is the player doing? After his fight ended, news of their deaths came. The player's 3-star high-level hero, obtained only through a first-time payment, was used by the man as material for synthesis, and the player was too angry yet dared not speak, even venting their anger on the lower-star heroes. He's probably trying to cancel the synthesis. If so, he should not have agreed to the duel in the first place. But it seems he didn't know about the duel mechanic. Subsequently, the man received an upgrade through synthesis, improving his lower sword and shield techniques and pain tolerance. Then a prompt came. Hero has reached the level limit. If you wish to level up more, then raise his rank. You can use attribute stones or star heroes for the upgrade, up to a maximum of 3 stars. In an effort to train them, the master even performed a 10 summon, but unfortunately, they had all already died. However, you will realize later that my method was correct. My current level is 10, with overall values close to a 3-star hero. If he is foolish enough to use me as material for synthesis, then he will never be able to climb that giant tower. What are you planning to do? If you're going to come at me, do your worst. The scene shifts, and everyone is thanking the man for his help. Don't get it wrong. I only saved the newly summoned rookies. It has nothing to do with you, because the master is very angry right now. At this moment, an order from Isol came, and 6 people stepped forward. Don't worry, we should capture goblins as usual. If it's a normal mission, 5 people would suffice, so why call out 6 now? What else could it be? Obviously, it's for synthesis. Everyone present was very surprised. What are you talking about? We have made our utmost effort. Daika, you really think they have tried their best? What were they doing when you were sweating from training all day? Jenna, have they really helped you with hunting? They have helped me carry meat and leather. Livestock can also carry. Do they only have the value of livestock? The bald man wanted to step forward and argue, but was knocked down by the man. Isol urged everyone to hurry to the square. Who will they synthesize with? It should be Adis, since she was just summoned as a lower level, and it's a reasonable measure. Subsequently, in a series of syntheses, Adis was upgraded and learned the disarm trap skill. I don't care about your identities before you came here, but now that you're here, if you want to survive, you need to prove your worth. But what if we don't have any talents? You can learn the skills of the people behind me, but skills aren't that easy to acquire. If they are motivated enough, they will strive to learn. If you want to learn fighting, I'll be with you every step of the way, whether it's hunting or carpentry. There are ways to survive. It's up to you to choose. Meanwhile, a notification that the master had logged off came through. You're really kind. I'm just telling them how to survive. If they do as I say, at least they won't die absurdly. What just happened was merely the master venting. If they don't strive to survive, they'll be synthesized sooner or later. However, as we get closer to the 10th floor, it seems it's time to prepare a second team. Facing a duel challenge from 1-star Jenna, 3-star Adis should have been a sure win, but the outcome was quite the opposite. Just now, the man realized it might be time to prepare a second team. The scene shifts, and the man gestures for Adis to follow him to the training ground. Moments later, they arrived at the training ground. Please practice with Adis using only a short sword, but my best skill is the bow. Subsequently, Jenna began to spar with Adis. Jenna attacked her with a very fierce onslaught. It's unbelievable how strong this young person is. The two exerted all their skills, attacking each other. Moments later, Adis collapsed to the ground, exhausted. Are both of you soldiers? Why are you so strong? I'm just a hunter's daughter. We weren't this strong initially. It's because of training here that we've become like this. Adis, although you are weaker than us right now, you have superior skills and potential for growth. The higher your level, the smaller the gap between us will become. That's a lie, because no matter how hard I try, I can't catch up to you. Regardless, you get back as much as you put in. I will keep that in mind. At this moment, more people were gathering at the training ground. Could it be because of the synthesis yesterday? But still, there are too few trainees, with only 2 spots per facility, so perhaps the rest will be synthesized. Meanwhile, a man training caught his attention. What is your name? My name is Erzher Roderick. I've heard about this place already. There's an entity called Master, and we are summoned here by the Master to fight. Your fighting stance earlier was good. What did you do before? I was just a porter in a mercenary corps. Do you fight in that role? Because I want to become a soldier. Then let me see if you really have what it takes. From that day on, the elimination of newcomers began. Although Aaron had participated in battles, he was not chosen for synthesis. Erzher was chosen for the synthesis. In continuous synthesis, he became level 3, while others entered the daily dungeon as usual. However, the mine dungeon that could yield live attribute stones had not yet opened. The scene shifts, and Jenna is complaining. Why do we have to meet at dawn? Does anyone know why we were called here? Could it be to choose team members? But aren't teams determined by the master? I can suggest to the master, and maybe the master won't refuse. So from now on, we decide by drawing lots, and we will form teams based on the results of the draw. Since there are 6 of us, we can divide into 2 teams of 3 each. There are 2 captains. One is me, the other is Adis. But isn't Jenna more suitable than me? But why do we need to form 2 teams? Because there's a high chance of a team wipeout, and it's dangerous to put all the high potential talent growing together in one team. The 5th floor is an example where the disparity in members' strength can endanger the whole team. The number of teams needed for future missions will also increase, and if those personnel grow unevenly, then conquering the floors will become very difficult. Red is me, blue is Adis. It's the same whichever team you go to. Start drawing. Just now, the man divided the teams into 2 by drawing lots. Moments later, the results were out. Jenna and Aaron are on the red team, and the rest are on the blue team. Looking at everyone's faces, am I really that unreliable? But it's true. I haven't been here long and have little practical experience. Objectively speaking, there is a big gap in their strengths, but there's nothing that can be done about it. Adis, if you can't keep up with us, you'll be left behind. Don't worry, I don't plan on dying yet. Subsequently, the man proposed the team arrangement to the master, the specifics of which are as follows, and whether it is accepted depends on the master's judgment. The scene shifts, and they arrive at the 7th level. Eliminate all the goblins. Boss, this seems pretty doable. However, the man said he would handle these. He activated berserk mode, and with just one horizontal slash, he killed all the goblins in front of him. A figure flashed by, and the goblin army instantly collapsed. Now only one goblin remains. This mission is likely related to the next dungeon task. We can't just end it here. Do you need me to wrap things up? No need to bother with him. It's just one goblin. It can't do much harm. Let's start exploring. The first thing to note is that it's currently raining. Second, there's a river. And finally, the dam has collapsed. Moments later, they completed the mission and returned to the town. Just then, the man suddenly noticed something and then gestured for Aaron not to leave. The master had purchased a starter pack through spending. Quickly go and bring the drawing papers from my room. You bring Adis here. Meanwhile, the master began 2 advanced summons. This was expected by the man because once masters start spending, they never stop. Whether in battle or synthesis, the heroes' reactions bring different kinds of enjoyment to the masters. They can even issue commands and directions to the heroes. Whenever a floor is conquered, the waiting room upgrades and its content increases, and the heroes' actions become more diversified. This keeps the masters engaged with these pleasures. Meanwhile, 2 3-star heroes approached, named Ivalka and Roderick. The next second, Ivalka fell down in front of the man. What's this person doing lying here? Don't worry about her. She'll get up on her own. She's a noble, and because she once lived in the mercenary corps, she knows quite a bit. But how could such an imprudent girl end up here? The scene shifts, and through conversation, they discovered that Roderick knew about players, summoning, and synthesis, but he was unaware of concepts like skills and levels. He always felt he needed to do something. Are we supposed to fight unknown enemies here? Yes, but I'll tell you the specifics after the drawing lots. The drawing will be done by me and Adis. The choice between an imprudent girl and a seasoned guard captain is obvious. At that moment, Jenna brought the drawing tube forward, and the man could see the specific colors. Did Adis see them too? The inexperienced princess or the cunning soldier captain? Who would you choose as your teammate? They decisively chose the princess because she is a super rare class magician. Jenna announced the start of the drawing, and surprisingly, both grabbed the red tags at the same time. Why did you choose her? And why did you? Are you a magician? At that moment, Ivalka's information appeared. Magician, possessing skills, intermediate flame magic. Both wanted a mage in their team because in Pick Me Up, warriors or thieves could change classes by training 1-star characters, but mages, only summonable through spending, are rare talents with a very low appearance rate. Let's draw again, and this time, no complaints no matter who picks what. The 2 then drew their tags. It looks like the mage is mine. Ivalka, you're part of our team now. The man then sent a team invitation to Ivalka, who joined Team 1, while Roderick went to Team 2. Meanwhile, Isol was dragging a human towards the synthesis chamber. You said that as long as we worked hard, we could survive. So it turns out you haven't even learned any support skills. Useless. Ivalka, you should go in too, if you don't want to die too early. Just now, the man signaled Ivalka to head to the synthesis chamber. Accompanied by a burst of synthesis, Ivalka was upgraded. People without value end up like that. If you don't want to be used as material for synthesis, then you just have to work harder. That's terrifying. Next, it's your turn. They will become your synthesis materials. Accompanied by cries of pain, Roderick also received an upgrade. Meanwhile, Isol opened a rift in time and space. It seems it's time to test the newcomers. Adis indicated to the uncle to enter the rift. Because you're the main character in this battle, follow me. What magic can you use? Why should I tell you? Don't you want to fight? Answer my question. Why am I here? Coming to this strange place. To fight without even knowing why. A reason to fight? If you don't fight, you'll end up like those guys just now. I'll ask one more time. What magic can you use? At that moment, Ivalka slumped down, revealing that he could use 3rd level fire magic. Don't you have any support magic? I disdain those 3rd-rate magics. If you saw my fire magic, you would be shocked. That's a pity because support magic is much more practical than offensive magic. Meanwhile, the second team completed their mission and returned to town. From their relaxed appearances, synthesis they must have been testing in the lower levels. Judging by Adis's expression, Roderick must be stronger than expected. But now it should be our turn. Team 1 enters the time-space rift. The scene shifts, and the man gazes at the floor numbers in front of him, lost in thought. We should be heading to floor 4, as the monsters there are well suited for testing a mage's type of magic. As soon as the battle starts, we'll step back, because we want to see the full extent of your magic's power. Floor 4 is very simple. Just one of us standing out should be enough to clear it. Don't you have confidence? Didn't you say your magic would surprise me? Indeed, I did. Meanwhile, Isol announced that the dungeon was about to begin, and she looked worried. Suddenly, the lock on the floor in front of the man unlocked. Master, this bastard. Subsequently, they were transported to floor 8. This is floor 8. Everyone, grab your weapons and be fully alert. Are you still angry about last time? The man used high-level heroes obtained by the master through spending as materials for synthesis, but this led to the master's retaliation. Unprepared, they were transported to floor 8. At that moment, an arrow flew towards Ivalka, and the man quickly pushed her to the ground. Right after, the mission information came through. Floor 8. Annihilate your enemies. Goblin Raider level 9 number 27. Why them? And it's not just 1 or 2, but nearly 30. Shoot them down. Attack from the side. The man was about to give Ivalka instructions, but was interrupted by a goblin on the spot. Another goblin attacked the man. He ducked and swiftly cut it down with his sword, then charged at a group of goblins. At that moment, a wild wolf lunged at the man head-on, and he raised his shield to block the attack. Aaron speared it on the spot with his long spear. Ivalka, it's your turn now. However, at this moment, she looked utterly panicked. Aren't you a mage? Use your magic. I need a little time. About 1 minute. Then start now. Ivalka closed her eyes and began chanting her spell. Focus on protecting Ivalka. At that moment, goblins surged towards Ivalka like a tide. Damn, the mage is indeed their first target to eliminate. Ivalka, can't you use a shield spell to protect yourself while casting? Meanwhile, she was focused on chanting, standing there unprotected. Can't she even move while casting a spell, let alone use shield magic? A super rare class mage, only obtainable through spending, turns out to be a novice who only knows fire magic. Not only does her spell casting take over a minute, but she almost got the whole team killed. Just now, the man realized that Ivalka couldn't even move while releasing her skills. Meanwhile, a goblin suddenly attacked the man, who raised his shield to block it, then dodged a powerful strike from the goblin and counterattacked, killing it on the spot. At the same time, another goblin launched an attack on Ivalka, and the man quickly intervened, rescuing her. What are you doing? You almost got killed. Do you realize that? You dare to cast magic without any protection. Let's move to a different place. See that forest? It's safer there. Once we're in the forest, use your magic to bombard the whole area. However, at that time, the remaining goblin army launched an attack on them. The man kicked Ivalka into the forest, then activated his berserk mode again. This was the second time today he had gone berserk, and although he was feeling very tired, he needed to buy time for the team. Just then, a goblin shot an arrow at him, which he blocked with his hand. He saw a goblin riding a wolf charging towards them. This speed is too fast. Immediately afterward, a goblin swung a blade, which the man ducked, followed by several arrows that he narrowly dodged. Damn, they are really annoying. At the same time, a goblin approached him. A figure flashed by, instantly killing the goblin in front of him. However, the next second, the man was ambushed by another goblin and quickly recovered. Damn, I'm out of stamina. At that moment, a long spear was thrust at the man. He used all his might to counterkill, but this drew more enemies. Aaron offered to help the man, but was refused. I'll draw them away. You just handle the monsters that go over to your side. But isn't Ivalka's magic ready yet? Meanwhile, Jenna signaled to the man, the magic is ready. The man ran towards the forest, and a fierce slash came at him, which he dodged on the spot. Using the goblins behind him, he leaped powerfully and escaped the horde of monsters. As Ivalka chanted, numerous flames rose around them. At that moment, the man lunged forward forcefully while Ivalka raised her hands and muttered, "Ignite." A fierce flame blasted towards the monsters, its force so great that even the man had to dodge. A fire tornado was sweeping through the entire forest, an unbelievably powerful sight. Indeed, spending can make one stronger. I thought the mage would just be a showy no-hoper, but she turned out to be capable of releasing large AoE skills. Merely by raising her hands, she could wipe out an entire monster army in an instant. The two onlookers were also very surprised by this. At that moment, the man signaled them to handle the remaining goblins, then he joined the battle against the goblins. However, due to excessive use of his berserk ability, the man was already severely exhausted. Since I'm out of strength, I'll have to rely on skills to defeat the enemy. The man spun around, slapping his shield against the goblin's face. Meanwhile, the two had already dealt with the monsters before them. If you're tired, I can still protect you. When did you become so arrogant? At that moment, another group of goblins launched a fierce attack. Jenna sidestepped and then drew her dagger to kill one on the spot. Meanwhile, a wolf charged at Ivalka but was shot down by an arrow. That was really dangerous just now. However, watching Ivalka still chanting her spell, Jenna quickly sensed that something was wrong. She then signaled to the man and Aaron to quickly get away from there. At the same time, Ivalka suddenly opened her eyes, and with a shout, a huge magic circle lit up in the midst of the monsters and then exploded with a bang. The force was so great that it even affected the entire forest. If we keep this up, we'll get injured sooner or later. The next second, just as the man thought the crisis was over, a goblin cavalry charged out of the flames. At the same time, Ivalka slightly raised her hands, and a ferociously powerful fire tornado appeared out of nowhere, sweeping across the land. Moments later, only a giant fiery pit remained. The scene shifts, and they were teleported back outside the dungeon as the mission ended. Being able to eliminate over 20 goblin cavalry at once, is this the power of a mage? Of course, this is the power of the Great Fire. My strength will surely surprise you all. But then, blood suddenly spurted from her nose. What's wrong with her? It seems her magical power has been completely depleted. But then again, she was utterly helpless during that 1 minute of casting. We could only protect her as much as possible during that time. Moreover, aside from her magic, her other attributes are lower than a 1-star hero. This is something the man has never encountered before in his time as a master. She truly is a hero created for battle. Despite this, her strength is still impressive. I think maybe I won't be the most important one in the team anymore. Just now, the master established a magic hall. Meanwhile, Ivalka is undergoing physical training. Why should someone with high-end talent like me undergo such rudimentary training? Then you'll have to eat potatoes in the future, because meat is reserved for those who participate in training. But that outfit looks much better on you than your gown. That is a special magical item made by our family, designed to enhance the power of fire magic. But just this little training has you this exhausted. It looks like you really want to eat potatoes. Even if the master does nothing, they find it very engaging. However, the addition of a mage was just right, and even the magic hall was open simultaneously. Thanks to the Azralta mine dungeon that opened yesterday, now they can gather materials for the weekly dungeons. There are still many materials collected previously in the warehouse. It seems like it's time to start making consumable items. Meanwhile, a notification of the master logging off came from up ahead. After that, the man signaled Jenna to keep an eye on Ivalka to make sure she doesn't slack off during training. The creation of potions normally requires a high-level apothecary and alchemist to complete. If it were possible to use a minigame like when crafting equipment, then even without technical skills, the man could make them himself. Moments later, the man arrived at the magic hall. Let's start with the making then. I remember the potion making minigame is like a rhythm game. With rapid tapping, he successfully crafted lesser health and mana potions, truly worthy of Loki. Although using too many materials might raise the player's suspicion, it's still better than dying in battle. At the same time, the man called the two to the magic hall. You know why I keep the fire basin in front of me? Suddenly, the man raised his right hand and pressed it directly onto the fire basin, leaving them stunned. If we don't want to be accidentally burned by Ialka's flames, we must get used to the temperature of the fire. As the 10-second countdown ended, the man abruptly pulled his right hand out of the fire basin. Don't worry, staying inside the lounge will quickly heal us. We fight beside Ivalka, and it's inevitable to get accidentally burned, so we must get used to the temperature of the flames quickly. Is this what we're supposed to be doing now? But to what extent should we do this? Until you learn the fire resistance skill. Just as Aaron was about to put his right hand into the fire basin, the man immediately stopped him. I was just demonstrating for you. Practice when I'm not looking, because I don't want to see you screaming in pain. Plus, you have another important task. The man then stabbed a knife into his own right hand. That is to master pain tolerance. It's up to you. Life potions can heal wounds, but they also come with intense pain. If you want to survive, you must master pain tolerance. Jenna needs to learn how to switch weapons quickly, alternating between bow and dagger in the shortest possible time, so she can change the range of combat at any time. From now on, the closed mid-long range rule will be dissolved. From here forward, you will form a triangle around Ialka as the center, and you will be responsible for defending one direction. Moments later, the master might send a second team to conquer floor 9, and from what we know now, floor 10 will involve cooperative tasks with at least 2 teams. Because these are cooperative tasks, the level of danger is incomparable to before, so we must not let our guard down. The man put his right hand into a fire basin heated to 12,000 degrees, and even resorted to stabbing himself with a knife to prevent accidental harm from a teammate's skills. Accompanied by screams, the fire resistance skill was finally mastered. The scene shifts to the training area. You need to reduce the power of your magic to increase casting speed and reduce mana consumption. You're simply insulting me. You think this is an insult to you? Why not just continue training? Ivalka's fire skills are of 3 magic layers. The first layer is ignition, the second is explosion, and the third is ascent. As the magic levels increase, the mana consumption also increases significantly. To effectively use her magic, she must enhance her own capabilities. Facing the approaching 10th floor, the man intensified his usual training regimen. Even his usual arrow defense training no longer involved shields. I think you're getting stronger. After intensive training, the man acquired the projectile defense skill, and his lower level sword and shield technique advanced to level 6. Meanwhile, Jenna suddenly attacked the man with a dagger. The man dodged to the side, and in the next second, Jenna swiftly switched her weapon to a bow and arrow. Switching, although she's just a 1-star hero, she possesses immense potential. Even her learning speed is extraordinary. If the man didn't know about the game, he would probably probably be far behind Jenna in terms of strength. In contrast, Eren is a rather typical 1-star hero. His lower-level spear technique remains at level 3, and he still hasn't mastered pain resistance. Meanwhile, Ivalka trains in the magic hall in my way, reducing the power of her magic skills. Except in special circumstances, it's best to use only the first phase of magic. Although there are several trainees in the training field, we still haven't found a usable guy. It seems the master doesn't plan to continue drawing new heroes. Does he intend to let those guys join the team? Adis's team has cleared floor 9. It looks like your limbs have been severed. Did you encounter some task? We were clearing a goblin tribe, about 50 in number. Did you notice anything special? The ground was muddy, as if there had been a heavy rain. Beyond that, I don't know much. Then came the summon for Team 1. It looks like it's our turn. With a spark, Team 1 successfully clears the floor. The overall level of the team has been raised quite a bit. Even the equipment has been greatly enhanced. The two from the training field joined 2 different teams. It looks like floor 10 is getting closer. The scene shifts. How's it going? Loki, any guesses about the mission? If I could guess that, I'd be a god. Loki is a god after all. Although I broke through the 88th floor a long time ago, it was only achieved after many failures. In Pick Me Up, masters grow through failure, and so far, this master has not experienced failure. If this continues, the moment he faces failure might be when I die. Moments later, everyone gathered outside the dungeon. At the same time, news came that the master was about to challenge the 10th floor. Indeed, it's the 10th floor. The man wanted to train a bit more because the final member of the team had not been decided yet. Although he himself had reached the maximum level, the master had not upgraded his star level. A little more training, and his skill level would also reach the maximum, making the conquest of the 10th floor relatively easy. Clearly, the master had no such plans. Isol opened a temporal rift. For the master, this is just a game. If we are wiped out, he just needs to draw heroes again. At this point, a message came through. This is an important mission that requires 2 parties. In any case of a party not being filled, they can summon heroes as reinforcements for free. The heroes participating in the mission can use the tactical station to receive tactical guidelines, the tactical office, but it seems the player is probably not adept at using it. Afterward, the man signaled Isol to tell the master to take out the stuff from the warehouse. Moments later, each of the 2 teams received 3 bottles of life potion. Adis, we will each land in different places, so we need to regroup in the center as quickly as possible. If you interfere with Han, I will never let you off. Rest assured, I will definitely conquer the 10th floor. Accompanied by a blue light, a middle-aged man was seen muttering in fear, "We can't win. We're all going to die." The man tentatively greeted him, but he saw no one. Could he be an NPC? NPCs appearing in missions are not uncommon. Is this what they meant by a cooperative mission? This city looks very familiar. Eren also said that he had seen this place before. The scene on the 10th floor felt strangely familiar to the man. He suddenly recalled that this was exactly like the city destroyed on the 5th floor. Could this mission be related to that city? The next second, the man suddenly realized this is the abandoned city from the 5th floor. However, if there's anything different, it's that it has not yet been destroyed.